everyone, this is Sue Reynolds with the Student Achievement Institute. We are getting ready to start our steering team training number 3. And in this meeting, we're preparing for your School Counseling Council meeting 1. So also participating in this call is Debbie Howell, who you've heard from in the past. And we've got some changes in our organization, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I will be presenting this webinar, and Debbie and I together will be answering any questions that you have today. So before we begin, I just want to make sure that we have good audio. So I'm going to, looks like Brian Granger has called in on a phone, so I know you have a microphone in your phone. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Brian. And Brian, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Perfect. And can you see a screen that says Steering Team Training 3 at the top of it?
Yes.
Wonderful. And Brian, tell everybody what school you're from and what part of the state you're in.
Frankton Junior Senior High School, Madison County, just north of Anderson, Noblesville area.
Okay, great, great. So very good. So I'm assuming then, since Brian can hear and see, that everybody can. Brian, I'm going to go ahead and mute you again so you can have side conversations without all of us hearing you if you want to. Very good. So let's get started because we have a lot to cover. So first of all, just remember on your GoToWebinar control panel, if you click this little arrow that to the side of your control panel, it minimizes the control panel. I've also put 2 handouts into the control panel. One is the PowerPoint presentation that you'll be presenting with your council, to your council. We'll be walking through that today. So if you wanted to print a copy real quick and take notes on that copy, I wanted you to be able to have that. And then also the slides that we're using right now for the steering team, those are there as well. Just remember, if you do minimize your control panel, you can hit that button again and it will maximize it. And then the other thing, today we're going to be doing some polls. And you'll see in this section where there will be questions that become live, and everybody will answer those questions, and we can use that information to kind of see where everybody is. And then of course there's the question, the place where you can submit questions, and then also participate in chat if you want to do that. So okay. So again, what we're doing today is kind of exciting. We're preparing for your first council meeting. That's always, it's just a fun time. You know, you've been recruiting your council and you've been collecting all your data, and now we're going to kind of start that discussion. The one thing about our council meetings is we try to spend very little time talking at your council members. And instead, we'll be doing a lot of listening to your council members. This first meeting will be a little different because you'll need to kind of set things up and teach them the vocabulary that you'll be using for the rest of the year, and just kind of giving them an overview of what school counseling is all about. But we are going to do an activity with the council towards the end of the meeting where the council will help you come up with the benefits for all of the stakeholder groups in your school and community regarding school counseling. So this is kind of a fun time, and we always love hearing what happens at these meetings. So pretty exciting. Okay, so first of all, there's a couple updates, and as I mentioned, we are having a staff change. Debbie, who I know you've been working with and probably have really appreciated, she is taking a new position. We're really excited for her. It's with an organization where she'll be able to have a lot of upward mobility, and she'll be using kind of the same skills that she's been using with us. So we think it's a really good move for her. So Debbie, do you just want to real quickly kind of tell people where you're going and what you're going to be doing?
Yes, first, it's been a real pleasure to work with you guys. So I appreciate all the hard work that you guys do for kids and for your schools and for your community. So thank you for that. I'm going to be working with a company that trains the state employees on a new computer system that hasn't been updated since the 90s. So I'm going to be doing some online or not online, I'm going to be doing some computer training. So thanks.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, and again, I mean, she'll be training people statewide, and I know that they are going to discover very quickly Debbie's leadership capabilities and really all the wonderful attributes that she brings to the table that I know are going to take her far. So we're really excited for her. We're actually having a little goodbye get together tomorrow so our staff can kind of celebrate Debbie's time with us and kind of celebrate her new position. So that'll be pretty fun. So now what's going to happen with you guys is one of our other strategic planning specialist, Tina Weissman, who's been working with us on strategic planning. She first started with us in 2007, so she's been with us a long time. She totally understands our vision to action process. She was the principal at Otwell Elementary, and that school was recognized at the state level for their gains in student achievement. She and their staff really figured out how to raise achievement in their school. And of course, a big component of that was really focusing on student guidance and counseling. So she's also been a professor at Vincennes, and she's just a delight. She lives in Otwell. As you know, we have our staff work out of their homes, and so she's ready for you. So, and then I'm also going to take on part of Debbie's responsibilities. So I will be doing these workshops. After this one, Tina will be sitting in. Tina had a conflict today, but after today, Tina will be participating in the webinars like Debbie has. And then she'll be doing your on-call support. So when you have a question, she'll be at the phone ready to answer those questions for you like Debbie has been. And she'll be also reviewing your submissions and sending you feedback like Debbie's been. So really, you should not see any changes in your services at all. It's just different people are providing them. So yeah, so we think this is going to be a smooth transition. And as always, if there's anything you need us to know or questions that you have, make sure that you call me or call Tina. Tomorrow is Debbie's last day, so it'll be Tina. And Tina's phone number is the same as Debbie's. And I forgot to write her email address on here, but it is, let me go ahead and do it right now. So Tina's email, you might want to jot this down, is Weissman at asainstitute.org. So it's the same as Debbie's email address, except it's Tina's last name before the @ sign. Okay. So yeah, so we're excited, both for Debbie and for Tina. Okay, so a couple of other things we need to just update you on. In the process page, in the collect data section, we added a new line. We decided that it would be a good idea to get the counselor's permission before we shared your time use data with your with your steering team. So as you know, your steering team has access to everything that's on your school's online system. And we just wanted to be sensitive to your wishes about whether or not you wanted your time use data to be shared. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want it to be shared. Normally, when school counselors are spending a lot of time in non-program non-program tasks, that's because they've been assigned non-program tasks. So most counselors want to expose their time use data because they want folks to understand how they're using their time and how better they could serve students if the non-program tasks went away and they were able to spend more of their time doing the counseling and guidance and advocacy activities. So I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't want to share their data, but just in case we wanted you to release the data. So here's how that will work. There is, when you click this button here in the Tools column, you'll be able to download a Word document. Actually, it's a PDF that basically says the counselors who assign below give ASA permission to post their time use data on the RSC online system. And then there's also a place where the principal says that this data is being used for program evaluation rather than counselor evaluation. So everybody signs off, and then you upload that. I'm sorry, you don't upload it. You go to the Enter button, and there's just a space where it'll say, have all the counselors signed this form, and then you'll say yes. And when you say yes, then a report will pop up. There will be an icon here, and you'll be able to click on that. And oh, I forgot. Here's what everything looks like. So here's the release form that all the counselors will sign. And then here's where you'll say, I confirm that all the counselors have signed the release form, and then you'll hit save. And then you'll get this summary report. I have on the next page, here's what a summary report looks like for a large school. So this school has 10 counselors. And you can see that although they have 10 counselors, in reality, they only have 7 3/4 because their counselors are spending about a quarter of their time in non-program tasks. So yeah, so that's just kind of how that works. Every counselor's name is listed in the school, and then all the time and task is indicated. So okay, so first poll. Just curious, I know that we talked about time task logs Debbie did with you the last time that you met. So I want to open up the first poll, and we're asking here just what percentage of the counselors in your building are currently keeping time use tasks. And let me open up that poll. And here it is. Okay, so go ahead. That will be in the the control panel, and just vote for one of those. And then in a moment I will close the poll, and we'll see what we got. So right now I'm looking, about half of you have indicated something. I think the rest of you are probably scrambling to find a place on your control panel. Okay, waiting for a few more. About 2/3 of you have voted. So just wait for one more second. Okay, let's see what we have. So I'm going to close the poll, and then we're going to share the data. And Debbie, can you confirm to me that you're seeing the results?
Yes, I see your results. Okay,
cool. So you can see that about 3/4 of you have already started your time use logs, and it looks like all of the counselors in your building are doing it. So that's wonderful. And about 1/4 of you said that fewer than 70%, so I'm assuming that maybe none of your counselors have started the time use logs yet. And that's important, of course, that you guys start that as soon as possible. Your councils are going to be looking at that time use data in like February, March, somewhere in there, February, I think. So we don't have a lot of weeks worth of data to put in there, and we also know that the types of tasks that you do now are kind of different than the tasks that you'll do in January for most counselors. So it's really important that you start collecting that data. This data, again, I can't emphasize enough how helpful it's going to be later when you're advocating for time, to be able to have data that shows the percentage of your time that you spend doing non-program activities. And again, you know, we're not going to say, oh, this is wrong, our counselors shouldn't be spending any of their time doing non-program. We're just going to present the data, and then we're going to say, you know, if we had more time, these are the things that we could do. And by that time, the council will have also looked at student needs data, and they're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, kids have these needs. We have counselors that want to serve these kids in the kids' needs, but we're using them in a way that has nothing to do with school counseling. So it's really to your benefit to make sure you're keeping that log. So, okay, I'm going to go back and hide the data or hide the poll results. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move on. Excuse me. The other thing we wanted to do today was to just delve a little deeper into the student survey setup. You understand from past webinars that the survey will open for you on January 1st. We are in the process of collecting input from counselors across the state on changes they would like to see to the survey. Tomorrow is the last day for input. And we've asked counselors on every single one of the survey questions, should we keep this survey question, get rid of it, should we reword it? And then we've also asked counselors, are there any questions that you would like that aren't on the survey? So we've got, that information coming in. And then probably the most important question is we've asked counselors how long they would like the survey to be. You may have heard that this is kind of a long survey. There's just lots of things to ask kids about what do they know about careers and academic and social personal skills, and what are they able to do, and what choices have they made, and what do they think about the school counselors. There's just a lot of questions. So we are going to try to shorten the survey. We know that already from the responses that we've gotten from the input. So yeah, so it'll be, you guys will be getting a brand new survey. Some of the questions will be questions that will carry over from the old survey, and some will be brand new. So let's talk about how to set up that survey. Okay, so in the process page, there's a line, it's probably going to be line 10 now because we added in that step. But there's going to be a line that says watch the survey setup video. So basically what I'm presenting today is also going to be covered on this video. So if you forget, or you just want a refresher in January before you set up the survey, just click that button and it will walk through everything. Then you're going to collect your student survey data, and there's some tools that you need here for the schools that have grades K2. There's a set of administrator instructions, or just some tools here. And then this is actually where you're going to set up the survey on the Enter Edit button. And then this is the report that will come out with your survey results. So, okay. So, and then one last thing. On the Submit button, we're waiting until all of the students in your school have surveyed. And then when you're ready to tell us that they've all surveyed, then click that Submit button, and then we'll take a look at that. Okay, so when you click the survey, when you click this button on Enter on the student survey, you'll get a page that looks like this, and you'll see that there's a place where you're going to select the question sets for the student survey. I'll show you that in a second. But then I also want you to see that there's a lot of steps here just on the survey administration. So just things that you need to think about. When are the students going to survey? Who will administer the survey? Here's another link to the survey administrator instructions. Tallies for grades K2. So there's an info sheet on how to do that. And then we also tell you how many students have surveyed. So, right now this number for you is going to be 0. And if you have, 400 students in your building and you think you've surveyed them all, but this number only adds up to 370, what you can do then is you can get a list of the students' names who have surveyed. And we hope that if you're missing students, by looking at this list of the ones who you have surveyed, you'll be able to figure out, oh, it's Mrs. Smith's 3rd grade class that hasn't surveyed yet. Or, oh, it's the 10th grade classes that haven't surveyed. So, so we hope this will help you kind of analyze the degree to which the survey has been administered and who's left out of anyone. And then on reviewing the survey reports, this is live after 10 students have surveyed. So if you kind of want to see what the early results are, you can just click on this, and as long as 10 students have surveyed, we can give you the results. Okay, so when you are selecting your question sets, this is critically important. So there is a paragraph here that says schools seeking Ask a Ramp and the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Awards should analyze data related to all 4 question sets listed below. Would you like to include all 4 question sets in your student surveys? I think all of your schools are seeking Gold Star, so and many of you probably Ramp as well. Make sure you hit yes. When you hit yes, that'll open up all the survey. It'll put all the survey questions on your student surveys. Excuse me. If you say no, then the survey sets will appear, and you'll pick the ones that you want to include. So the survey sets are listed here. You can see here's plans and choices. If you want to see the questions, they're listed. Here's the students' guidance needs. There's the questions. And then when you scroll down, here's the students' counseling needs. And then here's the school's perceptions of school counselors. What we did in this section was we took the licensing standards for school counselors in Indiana, and we just are asking the students, to tell us about the counselor's disposition and the counselor's knowledge and the counselor's skills, and that aligns with the licensing standards in Indiana. Yeah, and then finally, the last question is who's setting up the survey. So your steering team members will be in this drop down, and you just pick the one that's doing it, and then click Set Up the Survey. Okay, so when the survey is set up, as soon as you click that button, you're going to get a list of codes, and that's there's a code for each grade level. So when students are surveying, the first thing they're going to be asked for is to put in their code. So a student would type in SBWP9Q. That would tell our computer that this is a 9th grader from your school. I'm sorry, this is a 7th grader from your school. So you'll notice that each of the codes starts with the grade level. And then there's if you want to see what the student survey welcome looks like, that welcome page, you can open that to see it. And we're finally telling you that students are going to be asked these questions, and there's the 4 question sets. If you decide to change that, you can change it until the first student has surveyed, and then it's locked in. So if you change your mind, you can change it, but not after a student has surveyed. Then for the K2 students, here is the tally sheet. And how this works is that the teachers will ask students to put their heads down. They'll read a question. There's no social, emotional, personal questions on that survey because it's not a confidential survey. That survey for the grades K2 is only ask kids about what they know, and it's all career and academic. So K2 students will put their heads down the desk. The teacher will read a question. If the students answer yes, they raise their hands. And then the teacher counts them up and tallies. So here's what the tally sheet looks like. So the teacher is saying I surveyed the 24 students in my classroom. This is for 1st grade, and then they're writing down the number that said yes. And then your data point person on your steering team will tally these for all the kindergarten classrooms, all the 1st grade classrooms, and then they'll enter that information into the computer. Okay, in terms of administering the survey, the time length is still to be determined. Our goal is no longer than 30 minutes. If we could keep it to 20, that would be wonderful. But I have a feeling that given all the information that we and you will want to collect, it's probably going to be closer to a 30-minute survey. We'll know that for sure on January 1st, but I would at this point plan for I'd say a 30 to a 40-minute survey. Probably going to be 30. Okay. The survey window for you guys is January 2nd to January 31st, so you need to get all the kids to a computer or a tablet or a smartphone in that time to take the survey. So we think the easiest way to do this is to have classroom teachers give the survey. So you could say, like in an elementary school, you could say to all of your teachers, please give this survey to your students sometime in this 3-week period, 4-week period. If you're in a high school, you could say to all your teachers, during second period, sometime between now and the end of January, please give this survey. Or you could do something like an extended homeroom and have everybody survey during their homeroom period. So, or some schools will have an activity period or clubs period, and they'll just do the survey during that period. So, so figure out how you're going to get kids to the computer. If you're surveying in a classroom, it's really easy to do. The teachers just tell the students, go to that website, asasurveys.org, asaisurveys.org, type in the code and take the survey. So when the kids go in, here's what the page that they see. They start by adding in their code. When they scroll down to the bottom, there's a part that says that participation in surveys in Indiana for students is voluntary and that they're not required to take the survey. We've never had any feedback from schools that a lot of students opted out of taking the survey. I think kids want to give their opinion about what their needs are. So, so I think that's that. One other thing just to remember is that our survey is actually 2 surveys back to back. The first survey, those questions are connected to the students' names and contact information so that you can send students an email and say, oh, on the survey you said you didn't know what a FAFSA was. Please join us for lunch and we're going to talk about FAFSA. So you can, on the questions that are in the first half of the survey, you can connect those answers with students' names and email addresses. The second survey is totally confidential. We cannot determine what any individual student said on that survey. Those are the questions about the students' counseling needs and the questions about what they think about their school counselor. Now, we do, though, on that second survey, want to be able to disaggregate that information by gender, by federal student groups, by report card grades. So on both surveys, we ask students about their demographics. The reason I'm mentioning this is because those surveys are back to back. It appears as one survey to the students. So halfway through, they're going to be asked for their demographics again, and some of them will say, wait, they already asked for our gender, and now they're asking for it again. The survey must be broken, but it's not. So you can just explain to them, yes, we know that that's true, but that's done for confidentiality purposes, and just report that you're a female again. But I just wanted to tell you why we're seeing the demographics twice. Okay. So that brings us up to our next poll. Really curious to see what you're thinking is so far about how you're going to get kids to the computers. And here is the survey. Let me go ahead and launch it. Okay, so the survey should be in the control panel. How will you get kids to the computers for the survey? And then your responses are the teachers will administer, the counselors are going to administer the survey in small groups. Students will take the survey at home, which is a possibility, or something else. So looks like about 2/3 of you have responded again. So, okay, good. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close the poll. And then I'm going to share. And you can see 100% of you said that you're going to have teachers administer, which I think is smart. It certainly allows you to get everybody administered in a short period of time because you're divvying up the facilitation of the survey responsibilities among all your teachers. So smart. I like that you're doing that. Okay. So moving forward now, those are the kind of review and the updates we wanted to do. as I mentioned earlier, right now, you have got a really sound organizational structure in place. You've got steering team members. Yes.
We can still see the survey results.
Okay, let me hide that. Okay, that will help. Thank you, Debbie. So going forward, right now you have two things in place that are fabulous. One is an organizational structure that's going to support your school counseling program for the rest of the time. And you've delegated tasks on that steering team. So as you are aware, one of the people on your steering team has been responsible for recruiting council members. There's another one who's going to start working now as you're talking about having your first council meeting. There's another person on your steering team who's responsible for data collection, and they're now, thinking about the survey. So having that delegation of tasks is really important. Probably the biggest problem we see when a school starts to flounder with RSC is because they haven't delegated tasks well, and one person is trying to do everything. So that may be something after this webinar. If your tasks are not delegated well, please make sure you've done that. And then the other thing that you've done is you've collected program data. You did a lot of self-studies, and you're getting ready to collect your student data. So you've got the data part done. So now we're ready to start meeting with your council. The council is going to be involved in 5 discussions. The first one we're going to do today is on what are the benefits of school counseling for all of the stakeholder groups in your community. And then next time we're going to talk about, okay, what's our vision for our dream for what we want kids to be like. That'll be a pie in the sky dream. And then after that, we'll set some very concrete time restricted goals. And then the 4th discussion, we'll bring another set of data back to the table, and we'll say, okay, why aren't kids making the choices that are in our goals? Why aren't they signing up for the FAFSA, completing the FAFSA? Why aren't they talking to their parents about post-secondary ed? Why aren't they completing their homework? So we'll talk about root cause data to explain why kids aren't making the choices we want them to make. And then finally, once we know what those root causes are, then that last meeting in the spring with your council members will be, okay, now we know what the problem is. How are we going to fix it? And those will be your activities. So I hope what you're seeing here is that your activities are not just kind of randomly selected, but they're selected, beginning with a vision and then some goals and then the root causes, and now we identify the activities. In a data-driven, strategically developed improvement plan, this is what we want to do because it really focuses those activities where they need to be. So, okay, so 5 discussions with your council, and we're doing the first one today, or in December. We're prepping for it today, and that's on your benefits. Okay, so today we're going to walk through the first council meeting. And then after we walk through the meeting, then we're going to show you how to put the products of that meeting into the online system. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. If you have any questions, type them in real quickly. While you're doing that, I'm going to open up the slides for the council meeting. Okay, Debbie, are we seeing any questions?
Nope, I do not see any questions.
Okay. I'm hoping that's not because you're all shy. I'm hoping it's because that everything was crystal clear and you know what's happening. Okay. So, and again, type in those questions anytime. Debbie can answer them as we're going, and I'll pause several times in this presentation to ask for any questions. So by the time we leave this webinar, I want to make sure that you all feel totally comfortable in facilitating this first discussion with your council. Okay, so this is a 2-hour discussion, 2-hour council meeting. All of the council meetings are set up to be a 2-hour meeting. However, we have some schools that decide that they want to break it into 2 1-hour meetings, which is fine. And let me just see a show of hands really quickly. Do we have any of you there are multiple schools from the same district where you're wanting to combine councils for part of your meetings? If so, just go in that control panel real quickly. If you have multiple, let's make the question simpler. Is there more than one school? Raise your hand if there's more than one school in your district that's participating in RSC right now.
So we may have some shy bees, because I do know that Mary Sanger has Beringer, Eldon Reedy, and LC Wadsworth schools that will be working all together.
Okay. So after I walk through the meeting, I'm going to come back and show you the parts where I think you could do multiple councils together, and then the parts where I think that the councils need to split into building level councils discussions. Okay, so again, think of this as 1 2-hour meeting or 2 1-hour meetings. Most schools tell us that when they talk to their councils would rather get together once a month for a 2-hour meeting than every other week for a 1-hour meeting. So, but that's up to you. Okay, and then one other thing is that all of the slides that I'm showing you right now can be edited. We're just kind of giving you a starting spot, there's something to start with. So it's perfectly okay with us for you to reword things, for you to leave slides out, add slides. You're not obligated in any way to use our presentation. And I really would suggest, everybody has a different presentation style. I would suggest that you make this match your presentation style. Because you'll be much more comfortable presenting if you've done that. So, okay. So here is the first slide that's up when people come into the room. One of the suggestions we always make is we would suggest that at least one of your steering team members is at the door. Maybe the door of the school, and then somebody else is at the door of the classroom where you're meeting, or if you're meeting in the community, same thing, the front door of the building, and then the door where the room where you're meeting. And as people come in, they're being greeted with a smile, and you're telling them how thankful you are that they're there, and we kind of want them to see your excitement about all of this. Because that will be contagious. And if they see that you're excited and you're so appreciative that they're there, and this is going to be so wonderful because their voice will be at the table, if you can kind of set that, that expectation and that feeling from the very beginning of your meeting as they come in the door, that's huge. So this slide is up, and you're welcoming people in, and big smiles, and thank you so much, and you're shaking people's hands and patting them on the back or whatever. You just want this to be really, really welcoming at this first meeting. We're going to do a lot of things in this meeting that are going to encourage people to come back for your second meeting, and that's one of them. Okay, so in the first slide, you're just welcoming everybody, and again, that's where I would say to the whole group, how much you appreciate them being there, and how they each bring a different perspective to the table, and how excited you are that collectively you're going to do good things for kids. Then the next thing we're asking people to do is to introduce themselves. And what we would suggest is that you ask people to, say their name, and then we also suggest that you ask them to share the unique perspective that they bring to the table. So here's a slide that kind of tells them what to do. What perspectives do you bring to our discussions? And you could say something like, I bring the perspective of a 3rd grade parent, or a business owner, or a Hispanic woman, or a 9th grade student. And, we're asking folks to think about what is their unique voice. And what we're also doing is letting them know that if they don't come back to the next meeting, that voice will be absent. And we're helping them understand that they have a voice that's unlike anybody else's voice in that whole room, that they represent Hispanic folks, or they represent 3rd grade parents, or career and tech ed teachers, or teachers in general. So, so this part is really, really important. Now, there's I'm going to go into the manual for just a sec. In the manual, in your website, in the manual, there is a set of resources for this meeting. So if I scroll down, here's meeting 1. All the handouts that you'll be distributing, if you choose to, are here. And then there's also tools to help you prepare for the meeting. So, how to prep for meeting 1, tasks to complete after meeting 1. So these are all different kinds of tools. There's a discussion. Here's a discussion prompt poster that you'll use during the meeting. But I want to show you on the council roster, parts of this you will have filled in. Let me do that again. I don't think it clicked. There we go. Parts of this you will have filled in ahead of time. So on this roster, you will have filled in people's names, their phone number, their email. This way, as your council starts to get to know each other, they can follow up with each other between meetings. And then, but you've left this last column blank. And as people talk, and Jane Doe says, well, I'm a third grade parent, I could represent third grade parents, you're writing in that perspective. And you're asking everybody else at the table, all your council members, jot down these perspectives as they're shared. And then after everybody's introduced themselves, then you can say, oh my gosh, look at how rich this discussion is going to be. We've got parents, we've got students, we've got Hispanic community, we've got whatever people say. So we're really wanting to show people that this is going to be rich discussion because we have all different kinds of viewpoints at the table. Now, one other thing there is, let's say that you invited Jane Doe, a parent, to be on the council because you knew that Jane Doe was the parent of a free and reduced lunch student, and you wanted to have your lower income population represented at the table. So Jane Doe may say, I'm a third grade parent. So write down third grade parent. You don't want to come back and say, well, yeah, Jane's the third grade parent, but she's also the parent of a free and reduced lunch student, and so she represents the lower income students. So let's write that down too. So you know that, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, Jane's here because she's, we invited her because she's a lower income parent. But it's fine for that not to come out at the meeting. So whatever your participants, council members come up with for their perspectives, just use that. Okay, so now the first thing we want to talk with folks about is, as a group, as the 25, 30 of us sitting here, what's our goal? And our goal is simply to help all students make sound choices in areas that impact their social emotional health, their academic success, and their career success. And when I'm presenting this slide, I usually emphasize the word all, because this isn't just hit and miss, it's for all kids. And then I'll usually slow down so they have time to think about, we're helping kids make sound choices. That's all that we're doing, is putting kids in a situation where they can make good choices. And then in what areas that are going to impact their social emotional well-being, their academic well-being, and their career well-being. Okay, so that's what this is all about. That's why they're there. That's why we're going to come and have 5 discussions this year and then follow up with activities in future years. They may wonder, well, what is a sound choice? What are they talking about, a social emotional sound choice? So we would give some examples. I wouldn't read through all these, but a social emotional choice would be choosing to resolve a conflict peacefully instead of punching somebody in the nose. It might be an academic choice, might be choosing to turn in their homework. A career choice might be to explore careers online or to participate in job shadowing. So you're just giving folks an idea of, yeah, kids make choices, and it's these choices that help them be successful at schools. So then the next question is, okay, so what do school counselors do to help students make these sound choices? What do we do? And here's where we're introducing the field of school counseling and also the vocabulary that they're going to be using the rest of the year. So, school counseling activities, counselors participate in guiding kids, in counseling kids, in advocating for kids, and in managing their programs. So, we're going to look at each one of these separately. I'm not going to go through this all with you. I'm going to fly through these slides because you've already been through them once before with Debbie. But the one thing I would emphasize is who these services can be provided by. We're kind of setting the stage here for something that we want to happen later. So we're saying, okay, guidance activities is when we're teaching kids the knowledge and skills that they need to make sound decisions. And who can teach kids? Well, counselors can teach kids, but so can others. So parents can teach their children the knowledge and the skills they need to make good choices. Neighbors can, clergy can, basketball coaches can. I mean, there's a lot of folks that can help kids make good choices. So down the road, like in late spring or maybe even next year or the year after, what we're hoping is that folks will the light bulb will go off and they'll say, you know, I'm a member of the Kiwanis Club and we're seeing that we want kids to visit a college campus. Maybe we could do that as a Kiwanis project. And all of a sudden now you've got them to help you. So we're planting the seed that it's not just counselors that provide these activities. And then, of course, guidance can be provided in groups or with individuals. And then counseling activities, in this one, we're explaining what it is, but this one we're emphasizing these activities should only be performed by a licensed person. We don't want, some person that doesn't have the skill or the training or the supervised experience providing these services. Okay, this slide we're reminding people that kids come to school with a lot of different issues that interfere with their learning. And, I think especially your community members, they've heard about these things on the news and, maybe in different clubs that they belong to, but putting, all this into one place and thinking, just saying to folks, these kids are coming to school with all these issues and we've got to teach them. And we can't if they're dealing with this stuff. So counseling is really, really important in our schools so that kids can, address all this. So then advocacy, again, it's not just school counselors that provide advocacy, but lots of different folks advocate for kids. We can advocate for groups of kids and individual students, and then management. And we're emphasizing here that these are the behind-the-scenes tasks necessary for the school counseling programs to run smoothly. And again, those tasks can be performed by school counselors, but it could also be others. It could be a secretary, or it could be a extension homemakers club that decides to do some volunteer work, and they're going to volunteer in your counseling department. So, lots of different folks can help out with the management of the school counseling program. Okay, here's different management tasks, just telling the community, we have to develop our programs, we have to develop ourselves, we have to network with different people in the school and community, and we evaluate what we do. These are all management tasks. Okay, and then the non-program activities, and basically we're saying non-program activities include all the things that do not help students learn knowledge and skills they need to make sound decisions, and do not help students address the social and emotional issue that's interfering with learning. And then we're giving, examples of what are common non-program activities. Now, on this slide, I think you could do a couple of things. One is you could just leave it up as is and say, we're so blessed in our school because, our counselors are not responsible for report cards and transcripts and GPAs and honor rolls. We don't do any of that record keeping. We're lucky that we don't have to do the master scheduling or scheduling teachers where other schools do. Or another route that you might go is to actually put up your non-program tasks and just say, if you do that, I would say these are good tasks. Somebody has to do them, but we just want to acknowledge that when the counselors are doing these tasks, they're not doing guidance and counseling. They're doing, administration or record keeping or scheduling or something else. So, okay. And again, this is going to be really important when we get into the spring and we start looking at your time use data. Okay. So, who provides guidance and counseling activities? This is something we kind of have been leading up to. There's lots of different adults, school counselors, community members, teacher advisors, parents, classroom teachers. Everybody plays a part in guiding our community's young people. It's not just the responsibility of the counselors. And the focus of all of these groups is helping kids make sound choices. And as we go through this RSC together, we'll be defining what are the choices that we want kids to make. We're going to focus on what the school counselors can do to help kids make those choices, but then we might find there's other groups that want to help kids make those choices too. So again, we're kind of setting the stage that down the road, others may want to help the counselors in helping the kids make good choices. And then every time I go to get involved with a new group, I always want to know, is this worth my time? So what are the results going to be that we'll see? Well, the primary results, which are the most important and the reason why we're all sitting at the table, is that we will see an increase in the percentage of our students who make targeted choices and succeed, and because of that, succeed academically. So that's what's going to happen, and that's why we're here. We're helping kids make better choices. And then we're saying as a secondary result, which is just kind of a side benefit, it's not the reason that we're here, we will meet all the criteria we need to in order to earn the ASCA Ramp Award and the Indiana Gold Star Award. So again, I would really emphasize that this is about kids. It's not about the awards, but you will get those awards at the end of all this. Okay. So, and then another question I always ask is this going to be sustainable, or am I going to do all this work and then, the committee will dissolve, the council will dissolve, and then it will all go away? If some of you are Lilly funded, will the Lilly funding end and then this will all go away? So you want to kind of reassure people that this is going to live for a long time, hopefully forever. And the reason it's going to live is because you have a sound organizational structure. Didn't cost any money to put that into place. You have program evaluation resources at your fingertips. You're going to have an annual council meeting year after year after year where you review updated student data, you revise your foundations, and you create your plans for the coming year. And then you'll have all the materials that you need. So everything you need to sustain is going to be in place. And I think for some of your council members, that's going to be reassuring to know that, you've thought about this. How does this go on after this year of setting everything up? So, okay. And then a couple things, and these are slides you may want to take out, I don't know, but I think sometimes it's helpful to talk about what RSC is not. It's not an add-on program. This is not just about doing one more thing. It's about organizing the things that you are doing and letting go of the ones that aren't as important and working with the ones that are. It's not a quick fix. If there were a quick fix, every school counselor in the world would have already done it. There is no quick fix to redesigning school counseling. There's foundations that have to be set up, data that has to be collected. It's not a quick fix. It's also not about the counselors alone. We've been kind of talking about that. And it's not about reaching many or most students. It's about reaching every student. And I think that's something I would emphasize, that, as you're setting this up, it's not going to be just, helping the kids who sign up for Pass to See You. It's being proactive so that you're serving every single student. And then they're probably wondering at this point, okay, what have we gotten ourselves into? What's our commitment? What's our role as a council member? So their tasks as a council member, you're telling them you'll be attending 5 meetings. Each meeting will be a discussion where we are there to listen and you're there to share your ideas with us. Each meeting will be about 2 hours in length. You will review data that we'll provide for you. Some of it will be program data, some of it will be student data, and then we'll talk about that data. You'll participate in discussions, and one of the reasons, and you can go back to your roster, one of the reasons why it's so important to have all the perspectives at the table is that we want to make sure all the different voices are heard in the decisions that we're making. So the council will, number 4, the council will be making the program foundation decisions. They will be deciding today, what are the benefits of school counseling for all our different stakeholders? What's our vision? What is our ideal picture of school counseling and ideal kids? What does that look like? What are the school counseling program goals going to be? What are the choices that we want to focus on? What are the root causes? What's getting in the way of kids making those choices? And what activities are the counselors going to put in place, or the community put in place, in order to address those root causes? And then finally, their last responsibility is to encourage others to get involved, either on the council or to later to become activity implementers, so that lots of different organizations are helping you implement the program. Okay, so this slide just has, the meeting dates, and, I'd emphasize here, it's so important that we have all the different perspectives at the table, and if you're gone, your perspective is going to be absent, so please put these on your calendar and work everything else around them, because we need you to be here. Okay, and then a break. 10-minute break is written into the agenda. Now, if you're going to break this into 2 meetings, this would be the point to break. So everything up to now is the first meeting, and then everything after now is the second meeting. If there's more than one school in your district, I would suggest that all of your councils meet together up until this point, because up to this point we're just kind of talking at them, teaching vocabulary and that kind of stuff. So, but after this, we need there to be discussion at the building level. So if you're meeting with more than one council together, at this point you would take a break and then tell people, okay, if you're from the elementary school, go to this classroom. If you're from the middle school, go to this classroom for the discussion part. Okay, so let me stop here too and see if there's any questions. Looking for hands up. Debbie, any questions typed in?
I do not see any questions, and no hands are up.
Okay, I'm going to check in with one person. How about with Natalie? Natalie Hornsby, I'm going to unmute your mic. I don't know if you have a mic on your computer. Can you hear me? And can you talk? Can we hear you? I don't think we can. Because I'm not hearing any background noise when I unmuted her. Let's start with Mary. Mary? There you go. Mary, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mary? Okay, perfect. So I'm just picking on you. Just wanted to just check in. Number one, tell us what school you're from and what part of the state you're in.
I'm from Barriger, Reedy, and Wadsworth in Northwest Indiana, Griffith School System.
Okay, perfect. And I'm just checking in with you. Are things making sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from your group that's listening, or from you?
No, but there may be some after the first council meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Actually, you're absolutely right. And we also get a lot of questions in the couple days before the council meeting, when you're starting to prep everything, and everything seemed to make sense right now, but as you started to look at presenting the slides, you're thinking, oh, what did Sue say on that slide? When that happens, feel free to call, and Tina will kind of walk you through and answer any questions that you have. So very good. Great. Okay, and thanks for letting me put you on the spot. It's hard because I can't see you guys, so if you're not participating, I'd just like to call on one person and just say, are we making sense? So, okay, great. I'm going to mute you again. Thanks, Mary. Okay, so now here's the discussion part. So what we want to do is to have the council start thinking about what are the benefits of all this. This has 2 purposes. One is you're going to come out with a benefits statement. That's the product of this meeting, of all the input that they're giving you. But the other thing is that as your council members start to think about all the benefits of school counseling, they'll start to think about, oh, this is really important. There are lots of benefits for our community, for the kids, and it's important that I come back to the next meeting and get this set up and help the school set this up. So 2 purposes. This is going to help people come back to the meeting too, and also you're going to come up with the benefit statement. Okay, So the questions are, what are the benefits? Oops, I'm sorry, I'll change this. This will say redesigning school counseling. What are the benefits of redesigning school counseling? And I'll upload a revised so that when you download it, it'll say RSC. What are the benefits of RSC for students, counselors, teachers, parents, business members, and the community? So you're telling your folks, let's talk about what are the benefits of school counseling, of guidance and counseling for these groups. And then you're reminding people, here's some brainstorms, here's some guidelines for brainstorming. One, the purpose of brainstorming is just to generate as many thoughts as possible and to foster creativity. The process is going to be, we're going to give really quick answers, so it's not like give an answer and then talk for 15 minutes about why that answer is right. So no discussions, quick answers. If you can make your answer in 3-7 words, that would be great. And there's no right or wrong. So we're just going to get as many ideas up as we can into some process sheets. So, okay. And I like to, when I talk about this part, I like to kind of speed up my voice and talk about quick answers and, just to kind of get people used to this is not going to drag out while they're speaking. They're going to give a quick answer and then we're going to move to the next quick answer. Okay. So then we're also telling your council we're going to use a Delphi consensus building model. And this is a model that we'll use throughout the year together anytime we're trying to make a decision because we want everybody to be in agreement, or we want to build consensus for our decisions. So this is a great tool that will bring a large group of people. So if you've got 25, 30 people on your council, this is going to be a really quick way to bring them to consensus quickly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just toss out, when we do a Delphi consensus building model, the first thing we're going to do is toss out a question and give you some time to think as an individual and write down some initial thoughts all by yourself. So we'll take like 4 minutes of complete silence. Everybody will jot down some ideas. And then we'll say, okay, let's break into small groups, and you'll be able to share your ideas with 3 or 4 other people, 2 or 3, 5 other people, not 5, 2, 3 or 4 other people, to just kind of get all the ideas out, and you'll record the ideas of your small group. And then the small groups will share the answers that they have with the large group, and at that point, then we'll go to a consensus question. So the first thing we're going to do is the individual brainstorm. So you will have passed out a copy of this to each of your council members, and you're asking them what are the benefits of, here's another gag, sorry, of redesigning school counseling. Actually, yeah, this will say school counseling for each stakeholder group. So school counseling benefits, and then, what are the benefits for students as they think about, guidance and counseling? What are the benefits for counselors? Excuse me, for teachers, parents, business, and community. So everybody's just working at their seats on this activity sheet. I always like to say this will be done in complete silence because adults have a hard time with complete silence, and one person will write down one answer and then they'll want to talk about it with their neighbor. So I usually will emphasize this is going to be complete silence for 4 minutes, and just to emphasize we're not talking, and then everybody writes down their ideas. The benefit of this, too, is that when they get to discussion, everybody has something written down that they can share. So, okay. Excuse me. So now we're breaking the small group. And again, we would suggest groups of 3 to 5, probably no more than 5. I like to do groups of 4, but that's depends on you. So in your small group, please discuss the benefits of there's another gag, I'm sorry, of school counseling for each stakeholder group. And then write down all the responses and be able to share your ideas with the large group. So they're taking notes, everybody's writing down what everybody in their small group has shared. Now, what I usually do before going to the large group is as the groups are working, I'll walk over to one table that seems to be working really, really well, and I'll tell them, I'm going to call on you first. And can you model for me how to give a quick answer without a lot of discussion? So think about how your first response is going to be maybe 3 to 7 words, and you're just going to report it out very fast. and then we'll move on to the next group. But if you can model that for me, that would be great. So they know they're going to be called on first. They know, and then I've got them modeling how I want this quick response to be in this brainstorm. So then we go to large group, and the instructions are one idea at a time. And this is something else that I think can make your meeting a lot more energetic. So I've seen schools do this where one group will report out like 12 different answers, and then they'll go to the next group and they'll report out 12 answers. But it kind of keeps the energy flowing if you can just have one group give one answer, then quickly move to the next group, they give an answer, then quickly move to the next group and they give an answer. Yeah, so it just, it's just moving. So, and then you're asking people, as the ideas are being shared, if there's something that you don't like and, you don't have to love it, but if there's something that you couldn't live with about one of the benefits, having this be on our benefits list, just make a note of that because we want to hear about that later. So if you could live with it and support it publicly, it's fine. But if there's something that you couldn't support publicly, then we're going to want to, talk about that later and take it off the list because we do want to have consensus at the end of this. Okay, so everybody's sharing. Let me go back to the manual tab. There, we've given you the benefits discussions posters. So these are going to print out, of course, as 8.5 by 11s. This is kind of what we're envisioning there being 6 big posters, flip chart paper, and people are someone from your council is scribing on this. Yeah, so in the way that we like to do it, that just kind of works well for us when we're facilitating this discussion, is one of our team members will actually facilitate the discussion. And so if I'm facilitating the discussion, the participant says, this is going to help students understand different types of post-secondary ed. And then I, as the facilitator, will repeat that, understand different types of post-secondary ed. And that then gives who's ever scribing 2 chances to hear what's said. They're hearing it from the person, and then they're hearing me say it. The other thing we try to do is that when I'm saying what the person just said, I try to use that person's exact words. If I paraphrase what they've said and I put what they said into my words, chances are I'm changing the meaning a little bit and that person is going to feel less heard. But if I can give them back their words exactly, then they know that I heard them exactly. So, and that their exact words are getting captured. So just kind of a little tips on how to do that. We've also had, if you want to make this go really, really quick, you could have 2 scribes. So you've got 2 posters that say students. And the first idea, one scribe is writing down on one poster. The second idea, the other scribe is writing down on the other poster. So it's kind of going back and forth, but that allows the scribing to really keep up with the quickness of the discussion. So, okay, so that's that. And when you scroll down in this, we just made a different sheet for each of the different brainstorms. So, okay. Let's go back over to this. Let's see. Okay. So, and then as you're working through the different benefits for the different groups, there's just a slide that, focuses on what group you're talking about at the time. And then here's the consensus check. This is the same consensus check that we'll use throughout this process. So you're asking the group, well, first of all, you're telling them, you don't have to love what's up here, but, as we're looking at writing our benefit statement from all of your input, is there anything that we've talked about that really upsets you and you couldn't live with it if it showed up on our benefit statement? And if somebody stopped you in the grocery store and asked you about that, you couldn't support why that benefit, that benefit was in our benefit statement. So, so this is giving people a chance to kind of speak up. Now, if someone says, I can't live with this, it has to come off the list. And I would suggest that whoever's scribing, you just put a great big line through it. You might give the group a chance to talk about it. You can say, well, who added that benefit? What did you mean by that? And can you explain it a little bit more? Or ask the person who didn't like it, why is it that you want it to come off the list? So you could talk about it a little bit. It may be that the person just didn't understand what was meant. But if after that little bit of discussion, they say, no, I just can't live with it, it has to come off the list. Even if you love it, even if it's wonderful for kids, it has to come off the list. Because if you don't take it off the list, what everybody in that room is going to think is consensus means consensus for everybody, but if they don't like what I said, it's not going to mean me. So it's got to come off if you don't have consensus. Now, there will be, 100 things on this list. By the time you're finished, there will be 99 things that you can agree to. Also, between meetings, you can go talk to that person and try to convince them that it should be on the list if it's something you feel strongly about, but it can't come back on that list until the person agrees to it. You will lose all trust if you bypass somebody that's objecting to something that you're doing. Now, that said, on this activity, we rarely get any resistance. I don't think I've even ever heard of someone taking something off this list, but we want to give them an opportunity to. Okay, so then you've done your consensus check, and then you're just telling everybody, thank you so much. We're going to take all of your input. We'll create a benefit statement, and then we're going to send that back out to you for your review and your blessing. So, you have another chance if there's something on here that you don't like, that you have the opportunity to stop the process or to change the product. So, okay, that's going to set the stage later when we get to goals. There will be some more difficult discussions, but this kind of sets the trust stage that you need in order to have those more difficult discussions later. So, and then going back to the manual page, this is, we've given you in the tools, here's a sample benefit statement, and when you open that up, you're going to see that this is just how we kind of envision that your benefits will end up. So it's fine with us for you to bullet them. That's good. Okay, so I think that's it on the manual page. Here's the sample agenda. You can look at that, and again, feel free to edit anything you want to. There's the presentation. Here's just a info page in RSC. There's the roster, the individual brainstorm thing, and the council meeting date. So we looked at all of that. The prep for council meeting 1, you'll always have a prep sheet in here. Let's just open up that really quickly and show you what's in it. We give you the facilitator notes, the objectives for the meeting, how to prep for the meeting, what handouts you have, what other materials you're going to need. This is really important. What products are going to come out of this meeting? And then any tips. On this one, there is, one of the tips is on this presentation, this isn't always the case, but getting started, we gave you speaker notes on each of the PowerPoint slides. So if on those PowerPoint slides, you can see, there's speaker notes. So just on this first time, after this, you'll have these webinars to help you get ready, but we really wanted to prep you for success on this first one, so we scripted every slide. Okay, then in the online system, in terms of entering the products, I'm going to scroll back to the top. We'll spend about 2 seconds on this, and then we'll be finished. So on the process tab, I'm going to scroll down to section 4, council meeting 1. So you registered for the webinar. You've listened to this, you watched the webinar, you're participating and listening to it, so you've done that. On counselor time use, we want to make sure that that each month this is getting submitted to us, and each month we'll check to make sure that 100% of your counselor time has been logged. If you miss part of the time, then the percentages don't work out right when we look at that in the February. So we'll be checking every month just to make sure that that's happening. Facilitate Council Meeting 1, there's the handouts for it. Enter your benefit statement. Here's where you enter that. The only thing that I need to say to you on this one is that if you are going to bullet a list, use an asterisk, so that because our computer will recognize that asterisk as a bullet. So then, this is something new. We would like you to share a photo from your meeting on either Instagram or Twitter. There's a lot of tips that you can get from other schools when you kind of see how they set up their meeting. Like on the benefits brainstorm, one of the schools posted the posters and they showed how their responses went up with sticky notes. And that was something I never thought about before. And I thought, how cool is that? They had all these different color sticky notes up on the poster. It was really, quite energizing. So we want you to create either an Instagram or a Twitter account, and then post a photo. And that can happen during your meeting. So one of your council members takes a photo on their phone and just uploads it to Instagram right then. And then enter the minutes. That is very easy to do. Who's writing your minutes, and then who attended the meeting. All of your council members will be here, and you'll just click the ones that attended. And then the last thing, critically important, is to look at the rubric items. So when you click here, here's what Tina will be checking for. Is she's going to check to see, does each counselor's log completion rate, is it 100%? Check. That one's done. The benefit statements. Do you have benefits for all the different stakeholders groups? Check, check, check. Did you create an Instagram account? Did you upload a photo? Check. Okay, and then on the minutes, there's one part of this that's really different. Most of it's kind of makes sense. Did you, list the names of the people that were present? Did you give a summary that talks about the meetings, activities, and the discussions that were held? Here's the different one. The minutes contain references to specific people who created ideas. This is huge for getting people back to your next meeting. If I come to your meeting and in the minutes it said, oh, in the discussion about the community benefits, Sue Reynolds pointed out that communities tend to have a lower smoking rate when kids have better guidance and counseling, and as a result, their post-secondary attendance goes up. They have a lower smoking rate in the community. So, if you can name 4 or 5 people and say exactly what they said, then what that's doing is it's showing everybody that you're listening and that their voice mattered. If my name shows up in your minutes, I'm definitely coming back to the next meeting. And if it's not my name, but it's my, my neighbor's name, I know, oh, they're listening to people. I'm coming because they're going to hear me. This is great. So what we hear from a lot of council members is that when they go to school, people tend to talk at them. They tend to hear about announcements and stuff, but they're usually not asked. They're usually not in an environment where people are listening to them. So it's really important that you're showing them right from the beginning, this is different, that in these council meetings, we are there to listen and to their ideas. Okay, that's it. Make sure you go through the rubric before you start submitting stuff, and Tina will start reviewing on Monday. So I'm going to pause one last time for questions. And let me see here if I see any hands up.
No questions, no hands up.
No questions. Okay. I'm going to pick on one more person, Amy Hedrick. Amy, I just unmuted you. Oh, I'm not hearing any background noise. I don't think she has a mic. That would be something for those of you who don't have mics on your computers. Please call in on a phone so that we're able to chat with you during these workshops. Oh, here's a hand. Perfect. Anna, question?
Hi, yeah.
And share with everybody what school you're from and what part of the state.
Sure. I am working at Franklin Township Middle School West. It's in the southern Indianapolis area near Southport and Greenwood.
Perfect.
And yeah, and we are going through the renewal process this year. So the Instagram and Twitter account is a new thing for us. And I have a professional Twitter account that's Miss Sutter, at Miss Sutter on Twitter. Is that sufficient for the RSC account, or should I create a new one? Because a lot of parents and staff follow me on
yeah,
that.
that's fine. You do not need to create a new one. But you just want to, put that hashtag in so that it shows up when everybody searches. And you guys right now, we've done this now for 2 years with our first year schools. So you can go in and search in Instagram or Twitter for that hashtag, and it'll pop up and show you photos. There's another initiative. You saw GAC in some of the slides. I'll get that out. But another one of our initiatives called Guiding All Kids. They are actually doing the same process. It's a 4-year initiative. They're doing the same process as you guys are for the first year. So if you search for hashtag Guiding All Kids as well, you'll see posts from people's meetings, and sometimes people put up the work or a tip or whatever. So, but yes, that's fine if you use an existing account. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Anna, for not being shy, for asking a question. Okay. Not seeing any other questions. So this will be archived. I like it. We like it when you participate live, because then we can check in with you, and hopefully as we go along, you'll feel more comfortable raising your hand and just talking. And also it lets us see with the polls, what's going on, and kind of where you are as a group. So it's really helpful for you to be here for the live presentations. But if by chance you can't, they're archived. And then, if tomorrow you forget everything we said, just pick up that phone, call us, and we'll get an answer right to you. And then next week you'll be calling Tina. So yeah. So okay. So I'm gonna just close by again thanking Debbie for the years that she's put in with us. And Debbie, it's been a joy, and I know that your new employer is going to love you. So thanks for everything, and on behalf of all the schools too, thanks for all the work you've done with them. Any final words, Debbie, of wisdom before you go?
Yep, I just want to thank everybody for their hard work, and thank you, Sue. It's been a good 4 years.
Yes, it has. So, okay, very good. And this is Debbie's last webinar. Woohoo! So, very good. Thanks, everybody. And call us when you have questions. And we think this transition with Tina will be very smooth. But if there's any hiccups along the way, please feel free to call me and let me know, and we'll reassess. So, but we think it's going to be 100% smooth. So, okay, thanks, everyone. We'll close. Till next time.